Another example of devolution, and I'm going to show you guys several examples here, is this is Catalonia. Anybody ever heard of that? Catalonia has been, right there in Spain. It's been its own kind of a different region of people within Spain for a very long time. They are a nation unto themselves. Their language they speak, Catalan, is a Romance language, but it's not exactly the same as Spanish. Something I was reading not too long ago actually says that Catalan is probably a little closer to French than it is to Spanish and Portuguese. And I don't speak French and I don't speak Catalan, so I can't vouch for that. That's just what I read. Nevertheless, this here is a different group of people nationally than the rest of Spain. We also have a different national group right here we're going to talk about in a second. Long story short, these people, they live in a place where not only do they have linguistic and national differences from the rest of Spain, but they're super prosperous. They tend to do really well economically. And so since that area is pretty well off and they do better economically than the rest of Spain, they kind of feel like sometimes Spain takes advantage of them. And they already kind of want to have autonomy. And when we talk about autonomy, we're talking about self-governance to an extent. Okay, so if you give a group autonomy, that means that they can, for the most part, manage their own political affairs or their own affairs in general. And that's one thing that devolution is all about: is giving autonomy to people to keep them happy, more or less. But these people here in Catalonia, in some cases, large chunks of them have wanted independence from Spain. Most recently, in 2017, they held a referendum that was seen as an illegal referendum to vote themselves into being an independent country. No one in the world was willing to recognize that. We talked about recognition being something that a country, in order for a country to be considered legitimate, it's got to be recognized by the international community and the United Nations in order to be an official country. That's never going to happen here because nobody wants a group being able to vote themselves out of a country. Countries don't like to give up territory, especially super prosperous chunks of territory. And so for the world to recognize Catalonia as an independent nation would be pretty insulting to Spain. That would be like if Texas decided they were going to, vote themselves into being an independent country, and in Spain and the UK and France is like, hey, yeah, we recognize Texas as an individual country. It's never going to happen. That would be pretty insulting. All right. Another group of kind of autonomous region within Spain is the Basque. We talked a little bit about this in the language unit, because the Basque people, and this right here, this area actually is more than just this. It also goes into France. This region here where my mouse pointer is, that's Basque Country. Okay, the people there speak a language called Euskera, which is a pre-Indo-European language. It's the only pre-Indo-European language left in Europe. And they are very linguistically and very nationally different from the rest of the people around them. And so they do want a degree of autonomy as well. And so in order to maybe keep them at peace with the rest of Spain, they've been given a degree of autonomy, which is kind of like the process of devolution. There's also been some movement, or I guess some people in that region have wanted independence from Spain, France, or whatever it is, so they can be their own country. And so that there would be considered a separatist movement as well. Another example of devolution. Well, we're looking at Belgium here, which is really a federal state. We're going to talk about that in a second as well. But you've got this. There really is no central government at all here in this country. Belgium is a very tiny country right here in Europe. That's the reason why I gave you all this, to show you the situation within Europe. The northern half of Belgium is they're known as the Flemish. You call the northern half of Belgium Flanders, is what it's called. And then the southern half is called Wallonia, and they're known as Walloons. So you've got the Flemish and the Walloons. And also the people up here in Flanders speak Dutch. The people down here in Wallonia speak French. And then over here on the eastern side, you can see a little bit of red here. That's where you've got German speakers. So this is, in fact, a country that is sandwiched between France, Germany, and the Netherlands. And so, it almost makes sense for them to be part of those countries, since they're so linguistically divided. Not only is there linguistic divisions here as well, but Flanders tends to be more economically well off than Wallonia. It used to be the other way around back in the early 1900s, but over time, Flanders has become more economically sound. Brussels, which is this little orange area, that's the capital and the area around it. It is known as the bilingual area or a bilingual region within Belgium because the people there speak both French and Dutch. And ironically, even though this area is in Flanders, there are more, like a small majority of French speakers in Brussels than there are speakers of Dutch. Okay, so this has caused the people in Flanders and in Wallonia to kind of feel more nationally as Flemish or more nationally as Walloon than Belgium as a whole. And I can't, I definitely can't say that for every one of them. But a lot of people identify with either Flanders or Wallonia. And weirdly, I guess it works for them. It almost reminds me of somewhat of I thought I'd written it in here somewhere. It reminds me of like a married couple that doesn't get along. Divorce is way too expensive. So she'll go and live on this side of the house and he'll go and live on this side of the house. They just never talk to each other. In a lot of ways, that kind of summarizes what government is like in Belgium. They do their own thing. People in Flanders make their own laws based on what they want it to be. People in Wallonia do their own thing in the same way. And so there is no central government in that country.